piolani no eke yahi pioikaleva.
Our adoption process started almost 5 years ago. We had always been open to the idea of adoption. We have 2 children biologically, and probably what specifically started our process was my husband's trip to Haiti. It was about almost 5 years ago that we, in a step of faith, filled out the application process, sent it off, and then sat down with our parents. So it came down to a couple of places in Africa, China, and maybe 1 or 2 other places. So we got looking in Africa, and Ethiopia was a program that was a fairly stable program. It was taking probably 1 to 2 years to get a child home in Ethiopia, and the adoption agency we were working with just started a new program. We went a couple of years. Well, we went probably 1.5 years with the agency, and they just could not get very far. So what turned into a 9 to 12 month likely process was already a 1.5 years in. So we found out about another adoption agency that was working specifically just in Congo. And they had a lot of contacts there, and they were able to just get a little bit further in the process. They were already finding matches, and they were able to get into the court system. So we switched over to Africa Adoption Agency about 1.5 years into the process. And within the month, we're matched with a little guy. He was about 18 months old. We were going to name him Isaiah. Finalization of the adoption happened about 6 or so months after that, and we, right around the time that we got some really terrible news. Isaiah had contracted malaria. Our adoption agency contacted us to let us know that he had passed away. We had to grieve his loss, and it was hard. It definitely hit us all very hard. So that was in July of 2013. And we decided at that moment we just needed some time to talk and grieve and process through as a family.
But once again, I say amen, and it's still raining.
In September, it was about a couple months later, 2 to 3 months later, Seth and I sat down and had the discussion. And so we had a decision to make, but it wasn't really a difficult one. We did know deep in our gut that we were to move forward. And so I picked up the phone the next day, trying not to be reluctant about it, and told our agency, okay, we're ready. And she very quickly said, in a sweet way, she said, good, I'm glad. We have a little boy, he's 2 months old. And so I quickly realized that he was born the same month that Isaiah passed away. We accepted the referral and began the court process. In September, last week of September, the part of the government that issues exits decided to put a ban on all exits. By early December of 2013, our adoption was complete in the country, and he was our child. He was a Hoover. At that point, his name was Manson Nshangaloon, and the last name of Hoover was added. We go through the end of 2013, we start 2014, and we're well into our orphan investigation, and there is no sign of the ban to be lifted. Summer of 2014 begins a very grueling wait. People were so supportive and sweet, asking all the time, what's the update, what's happening, and sadly, I just had nothing to offer. So in the summer of 2015 was the first time that we finally got some positive news, some word, some rumble of some movement, and we were over the moon. So what happened after that was probably, I would say, the worst part of the entire process because we got that great news, there was hope, there was a plan, and then over the next 2 months, there began to be a long road of silence again. I believe fully that God had a plan and God had a call for us and that He was working this out in His way. So in February of 2016, just a few months ago, we began to get word that that commission that had supposedly formed had come back together. And I got email from our lawyer, and she speaks French, so it was broken English, but all it said was, the commission approved your case, so come to DRC to get your kid. And I looked at that email and was in shock, and I showed it to Seth, and we stood there in a park in South Carolina, and we just cried. And on March 16th, a Wednesday afternoon, she brought him out to us. And when he saw me, his face lit up, he did smile, and he reached out and allowed me to hug him. That moment, that was for me the moment that I had really longed for. And for the first time in 5 years, I was believing again.
I'm coming home to breathe again, to start again. I'm coming home from all the places I have been, with nothing but a voice within.
And we knew pretty early on that his belly was pretty sick. We made the decision on Friday morning to take him to the ER. He was diagnosed with 2 different bacteria. One was a parasite. He was underweight, he was malnourished, which we expected. Let's go ahead and fast forward to today. Today we are about a month home. He's been home a month. He is funny and happy, and he smiles. His sisters finally met him and love him. He's thriving. He's really adjusted, bonded, better than I ever could have imagined or dreamed of.
In the corner